Hello, everybody, and welcome to UGA Sports. This is Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. I am Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May and Trent Smallwood, and we are going to give you a special guest right off the bat, someone who is very knowledgeable of two of Georgia's current commits and one major target that they have right now. That would be none other than Dr. Rush himself, former Atlanta Falcon and Carolina Panther defensive end, Mr. Chuck Smith. Chuck, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Well, it's good to be here. I'm here in Canton, Ohio, working with the NFL Alumni Academy. So that's why you kind of see my backdrop, and I'm kind of in laid back mode right now. But you see, the bed is messy, but nonetheless, I'm thankful to be here with y'all.
Hey, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And, you know, who better to talk to about some of these unbelievable talents that are coming to the University of Georgia than someone like yourself that's invested so much time in helping to, bring along the skill set of these talented guys, Tyree West and Michael Williams, who Georgia has now flipped from USC. And then, of course, Christian Miller is someone that Georgia's targeting heavily. With those three guys, I know they're special talents, but before we get into anything about them, I want to just give you another opportunity to tell everybody kind of what you do with Chuck Smith Training Systems and also a very special project you have coming up here soon.
Well, the first thing I do is I try to create drills that make pass rush better. In 2001, that's when I started my company, and I created a system, Vision Get Off Hands and Hips. Pass rush system to build pass rushers from scratch. And then my initial goal was to improve the way pass rushers train and develop signature moves that can be used at all levels. And, it's my system's been tried and proven. And I'm just thankful that a lot of the guys continue to come to me, as well as I have a company, Chuck Smith Front 7 Consultants, where I consult from all the way from middle school all the way up to the NFL, consult them on how they should not only just handle themselves in the workplace, but I give them a plan to become the best they can and take their careers as high as God, leads them.
No doubt, no doubt. And you've got a challenge coming up, right? Of all across the country that's something you've been putting together and dreaming about for a while, right?
Yeah, man. It's a tournament. It's the Big on Big Tournament of America, and it's going to happen January 15th. First time I ever talked about it. It's going to happen at Grady Stadium right in the heart of Atlanta. And what's going to happen is I am bringing the top 80 offensive linemen and defensive linemen around the country going to come in Atlanta, and we're going to have a tournament. It's going to be where it's big on big. It's a cutting edge system that I've used for, in smaller settings to test it out for this one big one. And we're going to find out who's the baddest pass rusher in America and who's the baddest pass protector in America. Not where it's not going to be a T-shirt and, that kind of camp. This is where the top guys are going to come and compete. And it is a tournament. It's not a camp. It's not it. So it's a tournament where guys are going to have, it's going to be a point system. We'll have referees. It'll be cutting edge. It'll change the game the way a lot of the other guys do it. But I'm excited to do it. And we're working on right now, actually. I almost got the date. We're going to take another one. We're going to do the Big on Big Challenge. It's going to be a challenge. We're going to do it it's going to be an annual event. I'm starting in the Classic City at my high school, Clark Central High School, in that beautiful new field turf they got down there. So just got that okay from David Perno, the head coach, and the guys over there. So not only we're going to do it in Atlanta, we're going to bring one to Athens, and we're going to continue to, try to take these kind of events to another level.
Yeah, so my question is, can Jed, Trent, and I make sure that we have a spot there to cover that event and watch those prospects as they come in? Because we know we're going to need to see some of those guys.
Blaine, come on, man. We connected, man. We connected at the hip, bro. So, you guys are always welcome. The thing about it and my relationship with a lot of the, supporters and shows like this with the University of Georgia is that my backyard, the people that are the foundation of my training are from Georgia. So I always have a vested interest in this state and the high school players doing well and having events and being able to, have someone that'll give them an honest assessment and that really has no fight in the game. I just want them to go to the, the best schools that I think that fit them. So the thing about it with Georgia, people say, why are you such a big supporter? I say, well, the guys I train are from here. The guys I train are the guys they want to go to Georgia. They might want to go to Georgia Tech, or whether it's, Kennesaw State, or, the whole nine, or Mercer. I said, so this is my home base, so I always have a vested interest in UGA or any of these schools getting the guys that I have.
Oh, no doubt. And Jed, I'm going to let you lead off with your questions for Chuck first, because we want to get his perspective. So, Jed, I think you got a couple to ask to Dr. Rush here.
Yeah, Chuck, thanks again for joining us, man. We really appreciate it. I want to talk about, three of these guys, obviously Michael and Tyree committed to Georgia, and Christian Miller that Georgia's targeting pretty. Just who would you compare those guys to? Guys you've seen in the NFL, maybe guys you've seen come through college. Who comparisons, I guess, that you would, throw out for those three guys?
I really hate to throw the NFL ones out, but people can visualize that a lot, more a lot of times. I would say, like, if I was going to give a pro comparison to Michael, I would say Chandler Jones, same kind of height, guy who can eventually possibly stand up. He's can play a 4-3 defensive end, which, I like him in that position a little bit more, than him standing up. But the point is, he has value. He's versatile. He gives them options, where they can stand up like Azeez Ojulari, or he can, get down. So it gives George a lot of flexibility with a guy like that, with his range, his height, and his length, and, those different kind of things. To me, I would compare Christian Miller. He's just a shorter version than Jordan Davis. I mean, he's a bruiser. He's going to be 310, 315, possibly 20. If you ever see him, he's a little short version of, I'm just telling you, that's where he's going to play. He's going to play the 3 technique. He's going to be over the nose. He'll be a bruiser wherever he decides to go. And, he's an energy guy as well. So, and know who he is? He becomes number 88. Who's the guy at Georgia, number 88, that lines up at fullback?
Jalen Carter.
He becomes the fullback in 3 years from now on short yards. He's that kind of bully. He's a bruiser. He's lightning quick, and things work out. He's definitely a fit there. Tyree West is Geno Atkins. That's my best comparison for him. Georgia fans know him very well. He has that same kind of build. He's ridiculously strong. He's powerful, has a lower trunk. He's really quick. And I think one of the things that he doesn't get enough credit for, everybody talks about his power, his strength, but Tyree is lightning quick, man. And, one of the things that, as you see now, the dude gets double and triple teamed every game. So all those guys do, but particularly Tyree, because Tyree's been in the public eye for a long time. So it's one of those things where they can't hype you up any higher. So everything now is what? Oh, we'll drop him. He's, but he's as good as it gets in America. And he's a guy that Tyree will be big enough to play in the nose. He can play the 3. He'll be able to play the 3-4. He can play 4-eye. And with his quickness, I think one day, heck, they might could even throw him out on certain downs in a big package and put him in a 4-man front at DE. Those guys really got a lot of versatility, man. So I think, Georgia's really in a good place with Tyree and Michael, and we'll see what Christian does, but it'd be nice to get them all 3 on campus.
No doubt. And speaking of all 3 of them, my question, and Trent's going to have one for you, is the relationship with those guys. You've seen them work together, grind together. Just kind of talk about the camaraderie and what you've seen out of them as, kind of that closeness that they have as a group. Yeah.
Well, they're all really close, and you forgot to add in one. I know about Bear too, so I'm pretty international with this thing now, man. They got Bear, the whole 9, so we all connected through being in the pass rush family. So what it is, initially when they were all young, I got them all at different ages, or mainly coming through my gym, and the relationship with the 3, they started when they were young. It really started with Tyree coming through, and we had always had a relationship with Christian because we would always go over to Cedar Grove and do things around the city. But those guys are really tight, man. I'm talking about tight, like brothers tight, and like where they communicate all the time. And me and Coach Daz, who's really close with those guys, he's the young he's just a young generation, 26, so he relates to the music, the culture. I'm kind of old school. But those guys, they really do have a plan. They're really understanding what their expectations are. And part of my job is I want them to get them as ready as I can, so when they do go to college, it's not shell-shocked. And one of the biggest things that guys, when they go into college, they see the speed of the game, all those different kind of things. And, the size is obviously going to Georgia for the 2 is going to be, when you walk in there day one and see those big offensive linemen, it's different than playing Sandy Creek or, playing, Valdosta.
Yeah.
But it's just, man, been really good. And those 3 guys have been loyal. They listen and understand, and we communicate on mainly just sport. I'm not here to talk about the academics. When I train them guys, it's all ball, all football. I'm not here to deal with the emotions. So I consult them on what works best for them, what schools really are telling the truth, who's going to do this. Because what we do is, I'm a consultant. So when we make decisions and they make decisions, they know what the third down conversion rate is of the team. They know what defensive coordinators calling pressures on third downs. This is all about ultimately pass rush. So Tyree and Mikael, listen, if Georgia wasn't a good pass rush school and wasn't where they are, they wouldn't be going there. So the bottom line is I'm trying to get them to the NFL. So guess what? After next year, 3 years from now, those guys can be draft eligible. So when people always say, well, Chuck, what if they don't make it? They deserve the opportunity to have every opportunity to reach their goal to make it one day big. So when we look at things like that, there's hundreds of schools that talk to them, and so there has to be someone out there that can give a true, honest assessment of the facts. So if someone were to ask me about one certain school, we'll do the research. The coach can't just tell these guys, the high school guys I deal with. I think I got 26 guys, man, in the next 3 years that are going to be guys that Georgia's going to want to have, Clemson, everybody. So they got to have information. But part of the information also is this. Let's make it a professional decision. Let's not get tied into the coaches. We want to go to schools because we want to go to the schools, and what they say is what they're going to do. And what that means is when you decide to go to a college with a coach, it's easy for you to look at ways out. So if you're going to go to Georgia, it's not because of Kirby, it's not because of Dan or Trey. You got to go because you're going to Georgia. Because guess what? In the real world, things change. Dan might go in 2 years, right? Trey might become a coordinator. You know what I'm saying? So those guys, I try to give them a business assessment like, hey, this is what professionals do. When they make a commitment, they go. But if you go for any particular coach, we want to go with the stats, the analytics. What are they doing? How many guys get into the pros? Are they using pass rush moves? So one of the things that I like about Georgia, and I've said this because I'm sure, Blaine, if you guys have ever listened to me 3-4 years ago, I publicly said it. Georgia does not have a pass rush culture. I said it. It wasn't personal, but it was a fact. You know what I mean? So now when they brought Dan Lanning in, Dan Lanning had his agenda was we're going to rush the passer. So what those guys do is they give their guys opportunities to use signature moves. So another great example is this. Everybody's talking about Aziz. Aziz using the same cross chop move he did yesterday to get sacks that he used against Cincinnati to win the game in the last 2 plays. So 4 years ago, I would have never said that. And then I would have said, hey, my guys would say, hey, Chuck, what do you think about Georgia? I would have said, no, it's not a pass rush culture. But now I say, guess what? Dan is all about pass rush. Kirby now is adjusting. Now he's more about pass rush. It's not as much about coverage because we know he's a DB coach. Now Trey they've given Trey the keys to the car because Dan is brought the car, and that was pass rush. So all that goes into our relationship as me as a consultant, and I'm consulting many more, and it's not just in Georgia. I mean, there's got to be someone, even guys on the West Coast. I give them information, Big 12, Big 10. So, and the beauty of it is, guys, man, there's so many guys out there that now are understanding that they're looking at it as a business because the schools are. So I want guys to have, the correct information when they're making a decision on choosing which university.
Absolutely. And it's a process. Speaking of that process, Trent, I think you got a question for Chuck on that.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Mikael commit to USC back in the spring, and there was family connection out there with his brother, and over the past couple of months, you've heard Georgia come along really strong. How did that flip process really come about? How were the conversations and stuff going on like that?
You know what? That word flip can, to me, it almost sounds like a bad thing, but from the standpoint of when a guy makes a decision to go somewhere else, man, this process is so long. Those guys, when someone make those decisions, Trent, like that, it's just they get a small taste of what you've seen. And, I just think it's one of those things where Michael, he went out there, he liked it, he really liked the coaches, and I never fought a guy for, making his decision and sticking by it. But in this situation, he's at home, he always loved UGA, his family loves UGA. And I just think it's one of those things, not really flipped. I think it was an evolution of Georgia getting to know him and understanding, and him getting to really know them and getting on the visit and really seeing what's happening, So when he went to and then part of what he wants to do, him and Chris, they're actually really interested in the entertainment type thing, right? But then as the evolution of recruiting happens, well, then you find out, well, actually, it's not Southern California who's doing all the movies and TV shows. We're actually number one. So when you look at that, when all that information gets thrown in the pot, and then you're like, wow, let me just go back and make a business decision. So everything I get from the other school. So I just think it's one of those things that, he made the decision. He really liked it, and they did a good job with him. But I think ultimately, there were so many other things that fit him at the University of Georgia that made it a better situation, to make that transition.
So safe to say, Chuck, I know Georgia's probably set to lose a lot of people on that defensive front after this year.
Yeah.
Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Joan Rochester's been there for 10 years. It seems like all that kind of stuff. They're going to lose some guys on the inside, and maybe even some on the outside with Nolan Smith, Adam Anderson going pro possibly as well. But it seems like Georgia's well placed with what they're trying to bring in. Even a guy like a Darius Smith on the outside from Appling County. Just kind of talk about what as a whole, what you think Georgia's doing in this class to replace what's going out.
Well, I definitely think they're replacing them. I mean, I think they got guys that are going to come in day one and be contributors. I think they'll have their bumps in the road. Everyone's gotten so used to now Georgia. The last 4 or 5 years? I mean, pretty much since Kirby was there, they've had defenses that were tough. But I think that the guys they got in, they fill needs really, really fast. I mean, Reed can jump there in the middle. Michael's going to be able to rush on the edge. But I think they've done a good job of reloading, even besides, the three guys that we're mainly talking about. I think they're doing a good job of fitting the scheme. But also think about this. When they come in now, the defensive backs and the linebackers are more mature. So you're actually going to be stronger at some of the secondary positions, and even on offense. So I think when you look at overall, you think of it as a team. I think Georgia's going to be well equipped to have some young guys come in there, step in. And I just think with the scheme they're running, they're attacking, they're getting upfield. I think Georgia's got a good group that's coming in that most of them, I think the three I've talked about will be able to come in day one and help.
No doubt. And like you said, Bear Alexander, of course, a big pickup for him as well there in the middle.
Yeah.
So, before we let you go here, Chuck, just kind of tell everybody, where they can find all of your stuff, website, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff. If people out there maybe have a young pass rusher, something that they want to bring to you.
Well, first thing I got to say, Blaine, is I don't just train 5 stars. Okay. Anybody that wants to learn defensive line techniques and linebackers, I'll help your child. Whether they're going to FCS school, my son's at an FCS school, whether they're going to NAIA, I really don't care, because I've seen those same guys, FCS, I've seen those guys at all levels become great players. So that's the first thing I want to let people know, because that becomes a misconception about what I do, because that's a lot of times what I talk about and we get to talk about. But I say, if you want, the best way to reach me is in our offices. It's 833-222-7225. 833-722-SACK. It's 833-222-SACK. All right. So you can reach me there, or you can reach me at Chuck. That's it. 833-222-SACK. Or you can reach me at Chuck Smith NFL or Chuck Smith Training Systems on Instagram. And again, I'm here to help anyone. And one of the things I want all the parents out there to understand, you can call my office and I'm going to give you free consultation. My opinion and the things that I've seen will cost you no money. You can call that number. Your kid, you can be a dad that says, man, my kid's daddy ball is happening. I'll tell you how to handle daddy ball. Or you got a kid that's thinking about transferring or wants to get in a portal, or you're just thinking about, how do I start my child out on his way as a football player. So they can reach me at 833-222-7225. So, we do all kinds of different things, but I want to make sure people know that first and foremost, I'm a resource for everyone who wants to have, support when it comes to defensive line, linebackers, and anybody in the front seven.
No doubt, and this is the second time Chuck's been on with us, so a friend of the show here. And Chuck, if Georgia continues to work on that relationship, and Kristen Miller announces at the All-American game that he puts on that Georgia cap, we'd love to have you on again then to kind of talk about the trio being finished there.
Yeah, of course. I'm always going to be here, and I'm really excited. Those guys will be close by, so we'll always be able to support them. And this is another thing that I'll say, because listen, if a guy wants to go to Georgia, there's no way anyone can question why he's going there at this point. So I have, my Tennessee fans get mad. I get Clemson fans, because I've worked with all the teams at some point, with players from every team in the ACC and, every team pretty much that are in the Power 5 schools at some point in 20 years. But I'm the person that no matter where they go or decide to go, if it's a place that I believe, and I believe in Georgia right now, am I pulling for them against Tennessee? Hell no. But I absolutely pull for them every other week, because those are my guys. Think about it, Blaine. The guys that are on the field are mainly guys that are from, they're from College Park, or, they're from Rome. Think about it. So I don't care. I'm always big supporters right now of Georgia. If guys want to go there, I 100% support it, because I know what product they're putting out right now, what they're getting back, and it's a pass rush culture now. So, hey, line them up. Let's get them down there.
There you go. Well, you've heard it from one of the, premier sources here on Pass Rush. Georgia's all about it right now. So, Chuck, thank you so much for joining us again, and we look forward to having you on again soon.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about my backdrop, my hair. I'm a little messy right now. I'm crooked. I couldn't get my computer to work. I'm all crooked, looking crazy, man. But I hope I gave you guys some information that everybody watching can use.
Hey, it's fantastic. We appreciate it. Everybody go check out Chuck's stuff. We'll see you next time, Chuck.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
All right. See you. All right. So that was Chuck Smith joining us. So always cool to get to talk to a guy who's done it at the highest level there, Trent and Jed, and Trent just coming off of that interview, what he said about Michael Williams and Tyree West in particular. We'll get to Kristen Miller here in a minute. But just what were your thoughts, what he says, a guy who trains these guys, and has for years?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting about what he had to say about the flip process. It wasn't really he wasn't really necessarily called a flip. It was more a business decision of, he acted like his heart was here. His heart was at Georgia. Why go across the country when I can get what they're providing at the University of Georgia? And I just thought that was an interesting way to go about that. And then also I thought it was interesting about Kristen Miller. I've always looked at him more as like a 3-tech guy, but looking at him playing the nose a little smaller Jordan Davis. That was a little surprising. I know Christian's athletic. I know he can. He's got moves, as you saw on Twitter the other day, that him just bullying people. But him playing straight up nose is that could be interesting.
Yeah, and Jed, I think it's interesting now that Kirby Smart's able to use, like things like them filming The Walking Dead and all that kind of stuff in Atlanta to his advantage to recruit now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where every kid's got their own kind of thing. Like some kids, they like that kind of stuff. Other kids want to know, I don't know, where the nearest the Waffle House comes to mind, just with all the stuff Georgia Tech does. Just every kid's got their own thing. If that's what it takes to land these huge talents, Kirby and those guys are going to leave no stone unturned trying to bring top flight out. Sure.
Yeah. Don't say
Waffle House.
Yeah, don't say Waffle House. Bill Plaschke may get mad at us here on this episode of Braves in the World Series. I know Trent and I, Jed, are all excited about that, of course. But Jed, before we get to Vault questions, you made a trip down to Jacksonville, and you got to see Jaheim Singletary. Will Muschamp was there. Also, Colin Hurley, a 2025 quarterback. So I talked about this in a video that I did, just a private video just for the Vault members. So guys, that is the reason to check out the stuff on the Vault on UGASports.com. We have a deal going. I'll be running that promo here soon. But also, before you answer that question, Jed, you'll see down in the bottom corner there, Dead Soxy sponsors this show, guys. They have great merchandise for you to go buy. I've seen up in different stores in Blue Ridge, down in Marietta, other places, the Dead Soxy brand of socks out there. Comfortable, stylish. They're putting out all these different things of alumni packages with Georgia socks, things like that. So Dead Soxy, you need to check them out. But Jed, just touch on that trip to Jacksonville, what you saw out of Will Muschamp there, recruiting Jaheim Singletary, and then also your observations of Colin Hurley.
I saw Will Muschamp get scared when a cannon got shot off, just like I did. But it was Riverside and Trinity Christian, but both schools somehow had a cannon. Every time someone scored, they're shooting a cannon off. And it was about the third or fourth time I walked by Muschamp, and I was like, "Coach, are y'all going to start doing that in Athens?" Like, "Nah, man, that scared me." And I was like, "Yeah, me too, me too." But yeah, Jaheim Singletary. I mean, he shows. Why he's the number one corner in the nation, which it's one of those things where they don't throw at him much, because if you're a high school team, you're kind of asking for trouble when that happens. But he moves so well for a corner, and he pairs that with great size, great speed. He told me that the first time I went down there, just that's what Georgia likes about it, the fact that he's, kind of that complete package on the outside. And he showed he's got some physicality too. He hit a guy coming across the middle on the goal line at the one to prevent a touchdown. Something I found interesting was on third downs, Riverside had him playing at safety or star, that kind of thing, which is interesting because while Georgia's recruiting him at a corner, we all know how they love cross-training these guys to play different positions. So that's something that maybe could ease his transition into that at the college level, and maybe pave the road to quicker early playing time for him. So yeah, very impressive guy. Love watching him play, and it was a big rivalry win over Trinity. So after the game, they all jumped in the stands and were dancing with the band and throwing water around and all that kind of stuff. So great atmosphere down there, and Jaheim played really well.
And Colin Hurley, I know you didn't see him, push it down the field a whole lot in that game, probably because guys like Jaheim Singletary across the field, and that wasn't part of their game plan. But a 2025 quarterback that's already visited Georgia a couple times. What'd you see out of Colin Hurley?
He definitely looks like he's a big kid. I mean, I talked to one guy on the sidelines down there, and we were just making introductions and making small talk. And I told him I work for Rivals. Like, "Oh man, one guy you guys are going to really want to come back and see is this kid for Trinity Christian." I was like, "Oh, I know. We're well aware of him already." So he looks good. He made some good throws. Like you said, they didn't push the ball down the field too much, but definitely a guy that physically looks the part. He's obviously got the arm talent. Got to fit that buzzword in there and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a guy that, like I said, got an offer from Georgia after coming to the cookout at the end of July, and definitely a name to watch, in that 2025 class.
No doubt. So just wanted to kind of get that recap from you there on your trip to Jacksonville. I'll be talking about some guys I saw a little bit later on, but let's go ahead and get to the questions here. So Trent, I'm going to put this first one up here, let you answer. Who are the realistic targets at wide receiver the rest of the way? And are we still going to continue to recruit Burden? That's from Drew Yang at 96.
I mean, I think you can continue to recruit Burden, but if your program didn't sell itself with a big, top 12, whatever win over Kentucky while he's on his official visit, and Georgia sitting there undefeated, and Missouri sitting there at, I don't even know, 3-4 or whatever they're at, then you're probably not going to sell them the rest of the way. I think you shot your shot and you didn't win out, and I think you move on to your other targets, which would probably be Shaz Preston, Andre Green. Those are the two names that come to mind as far as that. You still have
Kojo.
Antoine. He's Ohio State commit still. Depending on he's been at Georgia a few times, and maybe a few other names pop up before signing day. But I would really just focus on those three moving forward right now.
Yeah, and I think, obviously Travis Hunter is someone we'll have questions on. And if Travis does end up, I don't care if he goes to Florida State or Georgia, whichever, I think you see Travis Hunter play receiver some at the next level. I mean, he's going to play corner, he's going to play receiver, he's going to return kicks. Anything that they can get that young man to do, he's going to do. One, he wants to do it. A lot of people give lip service to it, but I think there's a literal yearning for him to be on the field at all times. He's just that tenacious of a player, and he really loves the game. In terms of Shaz Preston, talked to some people close to Shaz and his recruitment today. I'll have a story coming out on it tomorrow on UGASports.com. And guys, I'm just telling you that this is it. They are very much so. Georgia is very much so in the thick of the recruitment for Shaz Preston. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, well, it's a Louisiana guy, LSU." Well, look at the circumstances that LSU is in right now. I mean, they still have Ed Orgeron as his own interim head coach right now, which is mind-boggling to me. And then, who knows if they'll be able to name a replacement before. I'm sure they'll want to try to get a replacement well before signing day, just so they can try to get some momentum and stop the bleeding. But I just want everybody to know that those four teams, Texas, Alabama, LSU, and Georgia, they all have, in my observation, a equal shot right now. Truly, this is a young man who's very level-headed. He's not going to rush any decisions. He's probably going to take this thing all the way out to signing day. So I think those are definitely the targets there. Jed, if you go ahead and read off this next one for us.
Yeah, he says, what's the intel on Travis Hunter being in Athens again this weekend on a bye week? Rule 101 in recruiting, follow the visits. That's what I'm learning too. The breadcrumbs are leading me to Athens GA for Travis.
Brent, you're our resident Travis Hunter aficionado.
Well, look, I mean, a lot of people go to Athens just hang out, and we do believe he was in Athens. Whether or not he was with, he might have been hanging with players. A lot of people go up there and hang with players. I remember a lot of people in the past going up, being up there hanging with players and signing with somebody else the following weekend. So, yes, we would believe he was in Athens, but was it the key is, was he hanging with any coaches? I know some coaches were across the country in California. We know Kirby was out seeing Arch Manning. I think it all depends on what was he on campus. Athens and on campus a little different. And was he just hanging out with some friends or that? But the fact that he was on not in Tallahassee or where, I don't even know where Florida State played, but not. He was in Athens again for the third week, and I don't even know how many, 6. And so that's something to watch for sure. I know he says he shut it down, and then and he's going to Florida State, but I do think this is going to be on his mind. He's a 18-year-old kid, and I think this will be a big decision for him to make. As Mr. Chuck Smith just said, at the end of the day, you got to look and see what's best for you. You got to make a business decision, and we'll see where that all leads with Travis Hunter. And I know that he's got family connections at Florida State, and we'll see where things go. But I know Georgia's going to keep pushing.
Yeah, and the only other player I wanted to circle back to a question, the wide receiver question. The only other player that I think might want to watch out for as the year goes on because of the performance he's having. Davion Walker is a wide receiver out of Warner Robins. He's came on a visit to Georgia. 6'2", 185 pounds. He's a class of 2022 guy. Not someone that is highly heralded right now, but he has offers from Liberty, from Pitt, from Vanderbilt, and there's at least some communication going on there between Georgia and Davion Walker and maybe the coaches there at Warner Robins. So that's one to kind of keep your eye on in terms of receivers, as maybe an under the radar type guy there. All right, here's our next question here. PA Dog 610. What is Coach Smart's preference pursuing a high-profile wide receiver in transfer portal or trying to flip or recruit one in the 2022 class, i.e. Andre Green Jr. or Kojo Antwi? Jed, here's one thing I've learned through doing Kirby press conferences last year, and you've done them this year. I think we should all know that we don't put words in Kirby Smart's mouth, because he's very quick to say, kind of refute that or tell you how that goes. But, and we can all kind of answer this one. Jed, what do you think? I mean, do you think based on what Georgia's bringing in right now with Morissette, with Bell, with Cole Spear, and the guys they're trying to target, do you think, Preston, Green, and Twy, those guys are the ones that end up coming in, or do you think maybe he sits pat with what he got and go after a guy in the portal?
I mean, I think in a perfect world, he would love to bring in a guy in the recruiting class just because those are the guys. A, you built a strong relationship with that guy and his family, but B, you get him on campus and you start developing him and you get him in your weight program and you're learning your offense and all that kind of stuff. But with that being said, I don't think I think what Kirby's proven one thing, and Trent, you've seen this over the past 4 or 5 years. Kirby's not going to give a scholarship to a guy in a class just for the sake of giving one. He's not going to take another receiver at this point anyway, just to take another receiver. If he feels like, if they miss on these guys, let's say, and there's not a guy that fits in the rest of the class, he'll save that spot and either give it to another position in this class or save it for a transfer portal spot. So I think in a perfect world, he would like to fill one more receiver spot with the scholarship in this class. But if it's not a perfect match, then he definitely has no problem, holding out for a transfer spot.
Yeah, I think this is a similar situation to how they approached the defensive back last year. They went down to National Signing Day. If we can find that right, that right guy, then we'll add him in the signing class. If not, we'll go to the transfer portal. And they were adamant on the transfer portal to land, some needs in that portal, and they did. They landed Arion Kendrick. And he's started every game for him and been a big reason why that defense is where it's at today. But I think he'll approach this. He'll try to land the best guy and the best fit. And if it comes in this class, it comes in this class. If it comes in the portal, it comes in the portal. But see where things go there.
No doubt. And I think when you're talking about wide receiver play, a lot of people want to joke around about, okay, yeah, like Cole Spear didn't even have a rating right before he ends up, getting offered and subsequently committing to Georgia. Ladd McConkey a couple years ago, people were laughing about that. He gets, he's dominating up there in Chatsworth, right up at North Murray. But now he's one of Georgia's most productive receivers this year through necessity a lot, because of injuries. But he's produced since he's got here. So Cortez Hankton, at sometimes, some people have given him some grief. He's missed out on some guys. He's also been able to go get some guys that they've been able to develop and turn into people. So it's kind of a mixed bag right now in Georgia wide receiver recruiting, but we'll see how it ends up. I think they've got maybe one of the more underrated wide receivers in the entire class in Dylan Bell. The guy is going absolutely nuts. I know some people want to comment, oh, well, it's private school ball out there in Texas. It doesn't matter who he's playing against. I'm telling you, with the body type, the speed, the strength that he shows, how strong he is with the ball in his hands after the catch. Dylan Bell is someone to watch next year when he comes to Georgia. He's very familiar with the Donnie Mitchell, and then Donnie Mitchell had that same kind of bulldog mentality, that has allowed him to produce early on in his career. All right, so King Mario 981, out of all the current commits, who would you guess will make the biggest impact in year one and also year three? So we're skipping year two for some reason. I'm not sure. So, so year one, we'll just go with that. Who do you think year one makes the biggest impact, Trent?
Man, that's tough because I mean you're looking at you got some players like Branson Robinson, but he's not going to be relied on as much in year one because you have Kendall Milton and probably Kenny McIntosh. I probably look at maybe a Michael Williams coming in off the edge because I think you do have some defensive linemen in place, but I think he could be a threat and have a big sack year, even if it's a situational type role, just playing the 5 tech or playing that defensive end and that speed package coming in in the nickel or dime packages. I just think he could have an impact year one.
Did anybody come to mind? Somebody you think might get some early PT next year on the commitment list right now?
Yeah, you think about a guy like Malachi Starks too. Just what I've seen from him. He's a very versatile guy. He plays safety at Jefferson. He's kind of depends on is he going to be a safety at Georgia? Is he going to be more of a star? That's still kind of up there. But I think just with Lewis Seen, I'm possibly moving on with Chris Smith being gone, with Latavius Springy being gone. That's a guy that could come in and, come in the spring, figure out where he fits best, and then compete for one of those, roles going through fall camp and stuff. Because that kid is really, really, really talented as a defensive back. So, that's a guy that I think could come in and at least have a really good chance to get some playing time in year one.
You know what's crazy thinking about it is Georgia had how many defensive backs go pro last year?
8. I
I
think.
mean, eight out of the program, but you had
eight out of the program. They had 5.
Probably.
They had 5 go pro. I think DJ Daniel made a camp and then got cut, and maybe he's on a practice squad right now. But they got 4 guys that are on rosters right now.
But you're losing your whole defensive back core again, and I mean you're losing everybody except for Keely Ringo. So you want to look to replace probably 4 guys next year, and I know you have. Mine slips me. He just tore his ACL. Smith.
Thank you.
Yeah. You got him coming. Tyke Smith coming back. We'll probably fill one of those safety spots or maybe the star spot. But him and Keely will be looking. You'll be filling 3 more positions next year, more than likely, if all things happen the way they look.
Yeah, and I think whether I'm going to go to the offensive side of the ball for mine, because look at the wide receiver position in terms of George Pickens, whether he plays another down at Georgia or not. I think that's the last down. I don't see him coming back for another year. I think he'll end up going pro. And who knows? He may surprise. David Pollock went out and said on the radio he thinks he's coming back. I don't know. He could potentially be gone. Kearis Jackson, will probably be gone. I don't think he can use any more COVID years or anything like that. So that's 2 productive wide receivers gone. So you're still going to have some guys, some youthful guys trying to get experience. Who knows if Dominic Blaylock, after you tear your ACL, twice and he's fighting like heck to get back, but realistically, who knows what the future holds for a guy like Dominic Blaylock. But I think that has, created with the wide receiver injuries this year's created a necessity to use 13 personnel. John Fitzpatrick probably, out. And I see an opportunity for Oscar Delp to come in and play a lot, because Oscar Delp, guys, I'm telling you, I'm going to go watch him play versus Kojo this Friday night as West Forsyth hosts Lambert. But I'm telling you, he's a special player. And there's a reason that Todd Hartley targeted him and him alone in this class. He's the guy that he wanted, because you look at what Brock Bowers doing. Oscar Delp is almost in the exact same vein. He's maybe just not quite just as top end fast as him, but you talk about the ability to block, the ability to run crisp routes, to change direction, has great hands. I think Oscar Delp has opportunity to play early next year for the University of Georgia. OU Herschel Walker, with Michael Williams now on board, do you think our main edge prospect left should be Shamar Stewart? If we get him, would we still take Marvin Jones Jr. if he wanted to come? I'll say this. I think that, a couple weeks ago after the Arkansas visit, Georgia seemed to be on a little bit of high. Everything I was hearing out of Shamar Stewart's camp, it looked like they had, kind of taken the forefront. And then, he's been now to Texas A&M and went to the Aggie Yale practice, all that kind of stuff. And reports coming out of the Stewart camp now is that A&M was very, very impressive. So, saw Nick Williams and all those coaches dapping him up on the field before the game, everything. Saw some videos going around. I think I'm not so sold that Shamar Stewart is going to end up at the University of Georgia. I think Georgia's going to do everything they can, and Dan Lanning's building a good relationship there, but I'm not so sure. Right now, I would handicap, if I had to put in a future cast, I'd probably put one in to Texas A&M, but that is a very, very fluid situation, and that is a recruitment that is not going to be resolved till February. Okay, he's not going to make a decision till February. Trent, who do you think the primary edge guy should be, if not Shamar Stewart? And what about Marvin Jones?
I've heard a lot more about Marvin Jones here recently than I have Shamar Stewart when it comes to Georgia. I think Georgia's working on Marvin Jones. They went through a Nye White. They went through and they landed Michael Williams. I think Georgia's going to try to land Shamar Stewart, try to land Marvin Jones, try to get one of those guys and see. But I think that'll be one of those spots that it's one of those final spots. Best serve or whatever. You try to get that last those top prospects in those last 4 or 5 spots, and I think that'll be one of those guys. So we'll see if Georgia can get Marvin Jones on campus, and I think that would be huge if they could.
Yeah, our rivals correspondents out there, some of the national guys are putting out that Georgia's getting involved with DeMario Tolan, who's an LSU commit. He's out of the Orlando area, and definitely I think they're going to try to get him up for a visit. And as well as I do, Jed, if that on-campus recruiting is a powerful tool for Georgia. So just like we say with Travis Hunter, the more you can get him on campus. Marvin Jones came up from the Miami area. They got him on campus. So if they can get a DeMario Tolan, especially with the havoc that's going on at LSU right now, you got to like your chances to at least get in that recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the benefits of on-campus recruiting for Georgia. It's ever since the season started, just the details and how meticulously planned out these visits are and all kind of stuff, and it's benefited Georgia so much.
Oh, we lost Jed there for a second.
Oh, am I back?
Oh, you're frozen. It's not. Oh, there we go. It wasn't a flattering image either. You were like, you're frozen in there. So we're good now.
Yeah, but anyway, to sum it up, the on-campus recruiting has been huge for Georgia, and like you said, anytime one of these guys comes to Athens, especially late in the process for these 2022 guys, it's definitely something to take notice of.
And we talked about a couple weeks ago, or I guess maybe last Monday, about Georgia Kirby just going to take advantage of what's happening at other schools. He's already trying to take advantage of what's happening at Florida State. He's going to try to take advantage of what's happening at LSU and get these guys on campus late and work for those late flips and at least have some backup plans in mind, because he always likes to have his backup plans come signing day. So he's going to get as many of these guys on campus as he can and work the numbers out when it comes time.
Oh, if Georgia goes down and takes care of business in Jacksonville, beats up on Florida this week, in the locker room, he's going to be FaceTiming Julian Humphrey like immediately, going in there and saying, "Hey, you still sure about that? you want to head over there to the Gators?" So we'll see. You're exactly right on that, Trent. He's going to take he's a relentless recruiter. He's always thinking about recruiting. I think I've picked up more and more listening to Kirby press conferences that every response that he has almost seems to be tied into a recruiting pitch and how he's going to determine who plays quarterback, all this kind of stuff. Like he's not going to say, I'm going to go out and determine a starter right away. Well, you got to earn it. You got to practice for it. All this there's all this kind of stuff that I think he's consistent in what he says to guys on visits. And that's consistency is key in a lot of these things and these relationships and things like that. This one's an easy one to answer. Easy Chair, will you post this to the Dog Vent Tuesday so we can click it and listen? Yeah, we always try to post it. I'll just label it podcast. If I didn't do that the last time, then it's definitely on the Vault, but I always try to put it on the Vault and the Vent in podcast format, as well as, the full replay via YouTube as well. DGD 1994. Chances of landing Shamar James. Also, how serious are talks with the quarterback from Ware County? That would be Thomas Castanelos. I think we take 2 quarterbacks in the cycle, even JTD and SB return. Chances of flipping Humphrey. So he's got lots of questions here. I'll answer the first one. Chances of landing Shamar James. It depends on how bad Alabama wants him over there. And the only reason I say that is when you're talking about a guy from Mobile, Alabama, that's in the strong suit right there. And predicted before committing to Florida originally, everybody thought he was a lock to Alabama. So they had the edge on kind of making that connection early on. Glenn Schumann has come in and really tried to fortify the relationship even after he committed to Florida, told him that he, would stop recruiting, things of that nature. And then, of course, Jed, you went and saw him. You got guys like Todd Hartley coming out to visit. Georgia's putting all hands on deck to go after Shamar James. Yeah,
and it's like you said, with the day he committed to Florida, he committed on Father's Day this year, June 19th or 20th. And he said he talked to Glenn Schumann that day, and Schumann told him, I'm not going to stop recruiting you. Obviously, he visited Georgia for the Kentucky game, decommitted, I think, Monday or Tuesday after. So it's one of those things. Georgia's come on strong. He loves Glenn Schumann. He loves,
Okay.
speaking.
Sorry, Jed, to interrupt you. Breaking news here: Julian Humphrey is just decommitted from Florida as we're talking. So,
what kind of timing is that? With the chance,
look, I could have told you this is Kirby working Florida week. This is
Georgia Florida week, and one of Florida's top recruits, one of the fastest ones in the country, decommits from Florida. So breaking news here on breaking news here on somebody post that to the vault real quick for me, Jed. You can
I got
post, all right, Jed's gonna post that to the vault for us. But Julian Humphrey decommits from the University of Florida. That is heading in to the matchup with Georgia this week. So recruiting never stops, not even for our recruiting show. He didn't have the decency to wait till we were done to decommit so we could no, I'm just kidding. But Julian is now back on the market. Georgia and Texas A&M figure prominently in this decision. I talked to him back in the summer after his actually it was his early fall in September, after he had made visits to each different school in terms of his initial visits. And now he's going to be, he's went back for officials to Georgia. He went back to Texas A&M recently. So obviously he's from League City, Texas. You got to worry about Texas A&M if you're Georgia there with what they've built there. But Julian Humphrey has decommitted from Florida. So DGD 1994, your last part there, chances of flipping Humphrey, those just went way up, my friend, right as we were speaking. So that is something. And I would say he told me back then when I talked to him maybe a little over a month ago, he said that he was going to try to have this thing wrapped up by early November. So we'll see when that happens. He didn't want to wait around a lot on it. But Julian Humphrey decommits from Florida. So in terms of the question about the quarterback from Ware County, Thomas Castanelos, Georgia is in regular communication with him now. I don't know if Georgia takes two quarterbacks, I think it does depend on what happens with JT Daniels' future, with Stetson Bennett's future. Realistically, and without, anything crazy happening, yeah, they could both come back. Do I think that it does happen? No, I don't think both of those guys come back. I think one of those two players is going to take this job by the reins, maybe even as soon as this Florida game, Trent, and not look back. I don't think it'll be that way. It's going to be a intense battle. I think it's a true competition now. I think people who want to say that it's already predetermined one way or another, I just don't think that's true. I think Kirby's, telling you at face value, he hasn't seen JT healthy in weeks. Stetson's been playing his tail off, fits kind of the team chemistry. So he wants to truly evaluate what these two guys are doing right now. But with the quarterback situation, you can comment on that. And then also, what do you think about the two quarterbacks in the class of 2022 possibly?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see both guys come back. And I look at it this way: if JT Daniels is the starter the rest of the way this year, and he decides to come back, I don't think you'll see Stetson come back. I think Stetson's already got like 6 degrees at University of Georgia, so I think Stetson will move on. But if Stetson wants to take a hold of the job and he could come back next year, and you might see JT hit the portal. That's just speculation on my part.
We're not reporting anything here. We're talking about
no insight. I'm just talking about. I don't think both of those guys will come back next year, and I also don't think you take two quarterbacks in this class unless somebody's transferring out, because you have Beck coming back next year. You got Vandegrift coming back next year. You have Gunner coming in. If you have one of those two guys come back, you got 4 quarterbacks. if you bring another quarterback in, you're looking at 5 quarterbacks. The more quarterbacks you have on campus, the lesser opportunity you have to land a bigger name in the next class or whatever. So I don't think they're going to overfill that room. And also, there's always the transfer portal. If you have 5 quarterbacks in that room going into spring, you're not going to land anybody in the transfer portal. So I think if you're going to land 2 quarterbacks in this class, then they know something that's happening that we don't. So.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring up something here on my screen real quick. I'm gonna share this for Georgia, the Georgia faithful watching right now. This would be Mr. Jalen Walker doing a little retweet of Julian Humphrey's decommitment announcement. Little winky face emoji there from the outspoken leader. Actually, not necessarily outspoken, but the prominent leader there in Georgia's recruiting class in the class of 2022. A very mature young man, Jalen Walker's. He's certainly doing his part in trying to recruit for this class of 2022. So we got some more questions here from DGD 1994. Do you think Dylan Bell gets another star? I don't think he'll get another star, but I'm not saying that's not to say he's not worthy of it. He's certainly playing like a 5-star right now. Also, will Michael hang on to his 5th star? I don't see, or be reclassified as 4-star. I don't see any way that Michael Williams loses his 5th star with how productive he's been this year. If he does, I think that would be a miscalculation on anybody's part to drop him down 1. All right, we got a couple more here. Riser, let's see way too early list of realistic portal targets, guys that are projected at positions of need from lesser programs or have reason to be looking around in the offseason. He went on to say something about BJ Ojulari. Obviously, there are the connections there with his brother having played at Georgia. He's from Marietta, was good friends with Eric Gilbert. So that there is, that connection there. Trent, other than that, is there anybody that kind of sticks out in your mind of guys that may be looking around in the portal that could just potentially be targets, maybe guys that Georgia's staff has had ties to in the past?
I mean, I really honestly think it's too early to tell, and I hadn't really been looking at that. But I think you're going to have to focus in on the teams that are changing head coaches. I think that's where you saw last year with the Tennessee. You saw Henry Toto move on to Alabama. You saw, they got several guys starting at different places around the country, and I think that's a team. Just like in recruiting, you can take advantage of in the transfer portal. I think you'll see some guys from LSU. I think they'll hit the portal.
What about maybe a guy out in Los Angeles? If Corey Foreman doesn't like the new USC coach, you think Georgia?
It's always a possibility because this is what Kirby does, and this one reason you go after Luther Burton all the way to the end, and I think they'll continue to have a relationship there, is you play in the transfer portal. You're always Kirby's going to play the transfer portal, and that's what he's doing with this Travis Hunter thing, in my opinion, as well. You recruit him to the end. You might fail the first time, but you might not the second time. So you keep that relationship going, and it's worked for Kirby in the past. Getting these guys in the transfer portal, and I think he'll continue to do this, whether or not he thinks he has a chance for him to land them, in December or February in the signing periods, or he has a chance to land them after year 1 when a head coach or so gets fired from, a place where these other guys are going. So, he's always going to recruit now and for the portal. And I think he's built those relationships, and he has one with some LSU players, including BJ Ojulari.
Yeah, and I think the positions, in terms of just addressing the positions, edge defender probably be one that they could legitimately go to the portal for. A safety, just getting more safety depth, that'll probably be an area they go to the portal for, and maybe even another top line, corner. Quarterback being the last one. If things could go absolutely bonkers at the end of this year with Georgia's quarter, I mean, they're in realistic, they could lose 3 off the roster. You don't know. I mean, you don't know. So I think, And there's going to be guys out there. Who knows if it's a DJ Uiagalelei after getting benched by Clemson? Who knows if it's Spencer Rattler after getting benched by Oklahoma? Not to say Georgia would go after any of those guys, but there's going to be talent in the portal.
And Georgia recruited a guy like Eli Ricks all the way down to the end too. I mean, you're looking at these guys and you're like, this is why Kirby does what he does in building relationships, because you never know which one of these guys are going to hit the portal and have another year left of eligibility to really help Georgia get to where they want to go. And
be honest, that seat, Jed, if Georgia goes down and takes care of Florida this weekend, they're a 14-point favorite right now. If they handle business in that fashion, or even maybe a little bit more, that seat may get pretty hot down there for Dan Mullen. You could see a change at Florida.
Yeah, and there's obviously guys on that roster that Georgia would love to have, and then the funny thing is, Julian Humphrey decommitted 10 minutes ago. Those are guys we've been looking at for the past couple weeks as potential flips or whatever. Georgia hadn't even played Florida yet, and both those guys have already decommitted from Florida. So, like Trent said, Kirby recruits these guys to the end, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you're always better off, keeping and maintaining that relationship and giving yourself a chance later on than just shutting things down when a kid commits.
No doubt. Jed, go ahead and rattle off that last one there for us.
From Colony City Dog, please list the probability, excellent, good, fair, or poor, of UGA signing the following DB targets: Kamari Wilson, Jaheim Singletary, Julian Humphrey, and Travis Hunter.
Okay, so you're saying excellent, good, fair, poor for those guys. So, Jed, you start with Kamari and Jaheim for us right there.
I would say, honestly, excellent for both of those guys. I mean, Georgia's led for Kamari Wilson for a long time. Georgia, talking with guys down there in Jacksonville in between getting cannon shot by my head, it sounds like Georgia has moved way in front for Jaheim Singletary and looks to be in a good position there. So, I would say they're in a very good spot for both those guys right now.
Yeah, and I'll jump in here and say that Julian Humphrey just went from good to excellent in about the last 15 minutes. I mean, you have to like your chances when it's really realistically you and Texas A&M. I know he's a Texas guy, but I think Georgia has left a very, very good impression on their visits, and they'll have a big opportunity. That's why this game in Jacksonville, people want to say, oh, well, Florida's unranked. That's why this game in Jacksonville is so big, right? Because it just can continue two trends, right? Trent, we talk about not one game outcome, but it is a continuance of a trend. If Georgia continues this, they go to 8-0, they pound on a rival, and Florida, it's their 4th loss of the season, their 7th loss in their last 11 games. That is a terrible trend for the Florida Gators and really helps Georgia's chances with that recruitment.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing part of that on the recruiting trail. That you talked about earlier, Kirby loves to recruit, and he's got a staff. If you're a staff member on his staff, you're going to love to recruit because you're going to recruit on your bye weeks. It's not a vacation. You're going somewhere, and I think that's quite the opposite of Dan Mullen. And Dan Mullen might like to recruit, but he doesn't love to recruit. He doesn't live by recruiting. And he's a good offensive mind, but I think you're starting to see that on the field because he hasn't recruited great on the offensive line. He hasn't recruited great on the defensive line. In the trenches is where Georgia's really dominating people, and I think you're going to continue to see that trend moving forward because that's the areas where Florida's really struggling, and Georgia could separate themselves even further with a dominating win in Jacksonville Saturday.
Yeah, and we've already talked about Travis Hunter, so we're not going to spend any more time on that. But in terms of just something that just came to my mind, Trent, when you're talking about Julian Humphrey and Shamar James, the 2 highest prospects that were committed to Florida, now decommitted just in short order from one another. It makes me wonder if already behind the scenes they haven't told Todd Grantham, hey, you're not coming back next year, regardless of what it is. And they have to communicate that to recruits, just to be open and transparent with them. So, and that happens. A lot of these decisions get made halfway through the year and not told to the public. And then it's just told after the season. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that Grantham's days are already over at Florida.
I think Mullen's going to be playing damage control after this. I mean, you either want to keep your job or you're going to have to do something. And, Todd Grantham might be that damage control. That
sacrificial lamb.
And but still, Florida's lost their top 2 recruits now, and their third top, I guess, is Isaiah Bond, who's had rumors of him looking elsewhere. So it's not looking good in recruiting for Florida. I think they just dropped below Georgia Tech in the recruiting rankings, which is not good. But Georgia's trying to create that gap, and that gap keeps growing in the East, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon, especially with the dominant victory this Saturday.
No doubt. So we've officially hit the hour and 5-minute mark, guys. It was a packed show. We had Chuck Smith on here talking with us, giving his expert opinion on not only on Georgia's culture of pass rush, but Michael Williams, one of the newest Georgia commits, Tyree West, who's been a starter at Tift County in Region 1 down there, guys, forever. I mean, since a freshman for 4 years, and that is big boy football. That is as high level as it gets down there, and he's been starting for 4 years. So he had some great insight on him. Also on Kristen Miller, who Georgia's looking to add to this class. We appreciate, as always, your questions to the Vault. Please, before you leave, there's so many people in here right now. We want to tell you thank you for watching, and please do us a favor. It doesn't take but 1 second. Click that thumbs up button if you like the show. Do that for us before you exit out. Also, subscribe, turn on notifications. Greatly, it's all free on YouTube, guys. So we appreciate you doing that. It'll be up on the podcast format tomorrow if you want to re-listen to some stuff. So head over to the UGA Sports Vault and on the Vent. We'll have it both posted on there. So for Jed May and Trent Smallwood, I am Blaine Gilmer, and we will catch you next Monday on another episode of Rumors versus Facts.